Okay, so I'm going to be describing my community-partnered implementation of an adapted integrated care model for children with autism. So my health population of focus is children with autism, who are represented in my slides by Julia, the Sesame Street character with autism. And so children with autism are clinically complex, and which necessitates services from multiple systems, which often don't talk to each other very well. The community mental health system in particular is important for children with autism because they have high rates of psychiatric comorbidity. So this figure shows a large sample of children receiving community mental health services to illustrate that they have high rates of co-occurring mental health problems and unmet mental health needs. And so timely identification of these mental health problems and linking them to care is really important for these children. And so pediatric primary care is really well positioned to facilitate early screening and referral to mental health care. But there are challenges in this process because children with autism have complex needs. A potential solution is integrated mental health care. And this is particularly important for children with autism who sometimes have difficulty getting access to mental health services. And so although far from widespread, mental health integration is a promising solution, and these are some components of what screening and referral practices could look like in primary care. I argue that this is a really good starting point, but it needs some adaptation for children with autism, some specific tailoring. And so the focus of my current project is to do just this. So through an NIMH Career Development Award, my focus is to conduct a mixed methods implementation study to adapt and then test the implementation of an adapted integrated care model that I'm calling ATTAIN, so Access to Tailored Autism Integrated Care. And it is guided by two implementation frameworks. One is the EPIS model that we heard about earlier, developed by Greg and colleagues. And the other is a model of community academic partnership developed by Lauren Brookman-Frazee and colleagues. And to guide this study, I selected some implementation strategies that are really contextually based. And this was informed by the community-partnered approach that I'm taking in this project. And so in this next slide, you'll see this map illustrates the three healthcare systems who I'm partnering with to conduct this study. And so they are within a wide range of counties and areas within Southern California. So within that broader community academic partnership, I have a study-specific community academic partnership called the ATTAIN Advisory Group, and this includes members from each of those healthcare systems who have different roles within pediatrics and mental health care. One of our first activities as a group was to select and vote on the logo for the study, and so this is the one that we selected. This next slide shows some of the key similarities and differences of the three healthcare systems. And a strength of the study is really to promote the generalizability of this integrated care model. And so the systems, they differ on some key implementation variables, including their funding structure and size, but they share some key similarities as well. So the first aim of this mixed method study is to do a comprehensive needs assessment in primary care. What's currently being done about mental health screening and referral practices. And to do this, I'm learning from caregivers, providers, and organizational leaders in each of these three systems. And some preliminary qualitative findings indicate some kind of specific targets for mental health screening and referral practices that may need adaptation for children with autism. So from the findings from this first aim, which is the needs assessment, I'll be working with the advisory group to kind of refine what those adaptations are and fully develop the ATTAIN model. And the last aim of the study will be then to pilot test the ATTAIN model to assess implementation and service outcomes. So regarding some kind of lessons learned for D&I, these are really focused on the importance of community academic partnerships. And the one that I'll highlight is to really consider your community partners and stakeholders as context experts who can really facilitate sustainable implementation. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, we have time for one question.
No question.
Hold on.
So my question to you, Nicole, and thank you so much. Really tricky to do this. How did you decide on those specific strategies? We talked about there are different ways of choosing them. Did it just sound like the right choice at the moment, or did you use some more elaborate ways of deciding on which D&I strategies you will use?
Mm-hmm. I think it was a combination of selecting the D&I model, that the two D&I models that really guided the study design. And so I talked about using the EPIS model and then a model of community academic partnership, and really considering that kind of context was important in designing this kind of study, knowing that primary care can look very different in different systems. And so kind of identifying the important kind of contextual variables that could be influential in this implementation process.